Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I see there's no one here yet, but I assume that you all will be joining soon. It's another Sunday. We're going to do some more Bevy today, I think. And I'm kind of interested in exploring, because we've done a lot of in-game behavior. But there's a whole lot more to building a game than just the gameplay itself. You have to put together, you know, menus and like level selection and stuff like that. UI for the in-game stuff, and we've touched on that a little bit. You know, we built health bars on our character. And optionally on the enemies, but we turn those off. But what I'd like to do now, I think today, because we haven't really done that much of that, is that extra stuff around the gameplay, is to work on building menus. Now, I am not as familiar with how to do UI layout with Bevy. We'll learn some of that today, I think. But we'll probably start with building the state that we need in the ECS to be able to detect, are we actually playing, or are we at a menu, or are we in some other state. So yeah, I think we can start with that. Try to get a menu, have it, display some things, some text, some buttons, like maybe we'll just start with a start new game button. And then we'll see if we can figure out how to make that transition from starting off in the menu into I'm in the game playing now. And then hopefully we'll be able to build foundations for what can come later as we develop more content, more levels, more configurability. Maybe you can set your key combos or something like that. We'll look into that, I think. So let's get started. If you're joining the chat, please say hi. And we'll get going. Okay. So, I was just checking our versions of Bevy. I had earlier tested, do we need to compile this? Apparently needed to recompile. Don't know what changed since last week, but it's all right. So let's go in here and let's make a new module, and we'll put a plugin in here as usual. Bevy Prelude Star menu plugin. And we'll put all the stuff related to rendering the start menu in here, and we're going to touch on the schedule file, which, remember, we use to segregate the different phases of systems that we have when we're in game. We'll also make a new system set potentially for the menu if it needs that many phases. It might not. And then we will make a what they call state. It's like horribly overloaded word, but we'll make one of those and put it in this file, and it'll be either in game or it will be like in menu or something like that. Okay, so So we're going to build this. Let's go back to our main and make sure that we add the menu plugin. I think we probably want it here, not that it matters that much. Yep. Okay, so at this point it'll crash. Well, it helps if I save the file. Okay. So we'll do, we'll want to have some systems in here, and let's just list them off. So we'll do set up the menu. So this will be adding things to our world. We'll want to remove the menu items from the world when we exit. And then we'll want to handle user input. So when they hit enter or whatever, we can start them a new game. Okay. So let's let's go ahead and make a I feel like we should go ahead and make this state. So let's go over here in the schedule, and we're going to, I was looking at this guide, which we'll kind of look at. So states allow you to structure the runtime flow of your app. You can implement things like a menu screen or loading screen, pausing and unpausing the game, different game modes, right? So in every state, you can have different systems running. So this is the big thing that we'll have to do as far as a refactor across the entire app is, I hope we don't have to, but we might have to. We need to define what systems will run in what states. And so let's make, we're just going to copy this and we'll modify it. Okay, so let's say app state. We're not going to have a loading screen yet, so let's leave that out. And let's derive default so that we can have the default be the main menu, right? And then we're going to, up here, so we have configure sets, we're going to have init, I think it's init resource, init state. No, this might be Bevy 13. So let's look at this example they have, but flip it back to 0.12.1, which we are using. Okay, so add state is what it's called. Yep, and we need to give it a generic there. So be app state. So then we can put these conditions on our systems that say run if in state, and then the value that we care about there. And yeah, let's just change this to menu, not main menu. And we'll put this down here at the bottom. Okay. So we'll have something similar to like this. When we exit the menu state, we'll have a cleanup menu. And then somewhere in our other file, we might do setup game. And then we'll need to do this run if. What it's not clear to me is, can you put that run if on a system set? you can you know what? I don't know. Um, I don't know if that's how you should do it. So let's continue to look at their example here. Okay, so set up the spawn a camera 2D bundle. Okay, so this is some of the UI stuff we'll have to do. So setup menu is going to create a button. For us, I think it can be, we won't have to track this button. Okay, so they're checking on interactions between, did you click the button, like with your mouse? I think we'll probably just have something that is text and says press enter to start a new game. Yeah. And then we'll handle key codes like we did in the movement system for the player. Okay, so in their example, when they set up the game, they're spawning a sprite bundle, and they've got this, texture that they're loading. And then, we're just moving the thing around. So this is not a really intense example, but you do see examples of the UI bundles that we will need to spawn things. So we'll probably do something like text bundle, etc. Okay, and you give them styles. Okay, so width and height, you can center using that and justify. Okay, interesting. All right, so let's just start with that, and then we will figure out whether we run these. Yeah, let's just try this. I think this is going to work. If the design is how I expect. Game. Okay. So we'll only run this expected one argument. Okay, that's just an anomaly. And we'll also do this here, right? So we only want to run this apply deferred if we're in this state. So I think what will happen now without without doing anything here, we will probably get it to start up and there will be nothing shown on the screen. So let's and nothing will run. As long as all of our systems are in that system set. No, okay. So we have some stuff on the screen that we shouldn't have, which is interesting. So we'll have to audit all of those systems and make sure that, I think like the level stuff, it's fine to load that, but we shouldn't have any of that visible. So maybe what we'll do, yeah, so some of these are, yeah, so loading levels I think is fine to load that. Let's see what other fields are here. Oops. Yeah, yeah, so we can make the visibility hidden to start. Um, Obviously we're breaking things right now, so I just want to see if that affects. Yeah, so we're not getting anything on there. That's correct. And then when we transition to the um, the in-game state, we'll set this visibility to visible. So yeah, load levels is fine to start. I feel like we did all this stuff with wall colliders. Let's see, where's our... Okay, we have the populate active spawns up here somewhere. Okay, so this is like reading that level data. Yeah, I think we should put a run if on this in state app state in game, and we'll need to import that. Nope. That needs to be pub. That helps if it's pub. Yep. Okay, so that'll be... The problem, though, potentially is we probably need this in that as well. The other option is we can do need another paren there. We could potentially do this as an event where, yeah, because the startup. Let's see. Can we look at the main schedule? There's a question in my mind about whether it's relevant to load those levels during startup. I'm not sure. So it's first. So yeah, that's not right. I think it's correct to. I think it's correct to load the levels at startup, at least for now. We might want to defer that and have it be on transition. I think we'll want to add a system in here which changes this visibility. Yep. Okay, so we've got our game state. These things only run when we're in the in-game state. We have the levels not showing if at the startup, which is good. I think we'll probably at some point want to do more of a like pick the level from the menu. We only have one level right now, so it's not relevant necessarily. But just looking at our other systems, so preloading the spawn spots. The thing that's weird about this is we're trying to pre-compute some information when the entities are added. And it's not clear to me whether, if we have multiple levels, will it run this system for everything, all the levels, because we said, hey, was there tile metadata? That was our trigger, rather than being triggered on a level load event, which we did in some other. Yeah, so in this populate active spawns, we did, if a level was spawned, then we set that. We might need to do something similar to this, where if when the level is spawned, then we recompute what the valid locations are. Right, and then we replace that in that resource. Because otherwise we would probably be like doing this on load. But if you switched levels, let's see. So spawn locations, no, spawn locations contains every level. So okay, so we don't need to do this. Yeah, we don't need to run this again. But it'll only be run when there's a query that matches this. So okay. Okay, so I've convinced myself of that. Um, the wall colliders, this is computed when we are adding wall tiles. Um, okay, and again, we're mapping. Okay, so this is mapping, this entity is the level. So I think we're okay on this. Um, when we get more and more levels, it'll be too messy, too much load time to run this for all levels at the beginning of the program. So we'll probably want to update this to compute this on demand rather than at all at the beginning. But I think I convinced myself that we're okay on these things. Um, and as long as this is, this entity is the level entity, we're probably fine. And this one is triggered off of level events. So there's no reason to be worried about excuse me. There's no reason to be worried about the when these will run. So I think what we'll do here is we'll add a system, and it's going to be on enter app state in game, and we're going to say show level as our system. And this will be our first use of this. So on enter is a special schedule that runs whenever this thing enters that state. So when we transition from in the menu into the in-game, this system will run. And this is going to be really, really easy. So I say it's going to be really easy. We're going to say show level. And this is going to be we're going to have to look at the LDTK. Oops. Anatomy of the world. So LDTK world bundle. We need to be able to identify this entity. I think it's we either need to query on like having that or query on the level set. Yeah. So the level set, I don't think that that's part of anything else. Yeah. So, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to say query, and it's going to be mute. Okay, and what we want is visibility. And what we want is something that has the level set. And then we will do for visibility in query itermute. The thing is, we should have only one LDTK world bundle. So maybe we can do let's do if let okay mute visibility is query dot gets single mute or get mute get single mute. Yep. Let me say star visibility is visibility. Oops. Visible. I think the default for visibility is inherited. Yeah, so I think we'll use inherited. The thing is, I think that this world bundle is is a top level entity. It doesn't have any parents. Let's just use visible. I think that that's more clear. And then anything that is below this, like is a child entity of this world bundle. For example, the levels, right? Those will get their visibility set based on what the level selection is, and that all happens automatically by ECSLDTK. Okay. So when we transition to this state, we should show level. The other thing we could do is hide it when we exit that state, which might be good on exit. And this is going to be really silly. It's going to be the same as this. Except we'll set it to hidden. And this is hide level. We could probably do something a bit more elegant for this, but like there's not not really anything to be confused about here. So I'm not worried about it. Okay. So if we're entering the in-game state, we show the level. So note on load, the level is hidden. We enter the in-game state, we show the level, we exit it, we hide the level. So if we're going back to the main menu. And then all of these things only run if they're in-game state. And these, should have possibly been in the schedule, but they're not really. They're not involved in this particular gameplay loop. They're more about setting things up. So, okay, let's take a quick look at our other. Startup. We want to load assets. We should, at some point, convert over to Bevy Asset Loader, which does it a bit more lazily. Camera, we spawn on startup. Right. So the following the player only runs when we're in this set, and we said that that set only runs in the in-game state. Um, we might want to tweak the camera for the menu. And again, here we didn't restore this information about the camera staying in bounds. I don't know how big of an issue that is, but maybe we'll come back to that at some other point. Let's put that in our to-do text. Restore camera limits when player reaches edge of screen. Okay. Cool. All right. So we looked at camera. Let's look at collision. Yeah, these all run inside the in-game set in different phases of that. So those will not be run unless we're in that set. I think we're fine there. Combat also in set. Enemies. Where's the plugin here? We have a lot of stuff up here. Okay. Right, so these run all these. I think we need to do this one. Well, maybe not. This says added enemy prototype. So I'm not as concerned. This could be a loading time thing, but I'm not as concerned about this. Remember, I don't know if it was last session or the session before, but we converted that manual placement of all the enemies into here's a prototype of this kind of enemy for this level, and then go ahead and add those to the world, but make them invisible. And we handled all of this stuff, and then when it was added to the world, then we cleaned them up because we were not going to have them be visible, right? So this is just removing their spatial bundle. Oh yeah, we had this complicated query. Okay. Let's see here. So pick spawn location was just a function, not a system. I think we were just trying to make that. Yep. Okay. So chase player and spawn enemy. Those are only in here. Okay. Let's look at the health plugin. These are all in process combat or entity updates, so I think we're set for that. Okay. And we already have been looking at levels. Let's look at movement. Where is the plugin? I should make these more consistent, putting them at the top. Yeah, these are all in in-game entity updates, so there's nothing to do there. And the player in-game. So I think we're fine for this. And we can be confident that these won't run when we are in the menu state. Okay. I don't know that there's anything else to do here in levels, so let's go and look at the menu file. So we're going to have a system that is setup menu. And let's say this will be on enter app state menu. We'll say setup menu. And then we need to have one that is on exit app state menu, which is going to be cleanup menu. So this is going to remove the entities that we create in the setup phase. And then we're going to have in the update phase, let's say handle menu input. And this is going to be, our line's getting long here. Let's just pause there and then I'll add. Yeah, so it's complaining about that. In state or run if in state app state menu. Okay. So let's just stub these out. And we've got our three things here. Cleanup menu. And then we'll have handle menu input. Okay, so now we've got these, add systems. So we've got all of our stuff for when we're in this state. Let's look back at their tutorial real quick. Where were we? States. Okay, so we did, it was named slightly differently. And we did something similar. So yeah, so you can configure sets to run if they're in a particular state. We might make a menu set depending on what sorts of interactions we're going to get. I don't know why they're bothering with the fixed update. I don't know what that phase is of the schedule. I think it's that it runs until there's nothing else to run and then it moves into update. Anyway. Okay. Yeah, so there's stuff like handle main menu UI input in the main menu set in the update phase. Okay, so we have on enter and on exit, which we've already started using. Those are for setup and cleanup. And I don't see the example of them using on transition. Yeah, you can do this, but we don't need that parameterization. So, okay, so controlling states, you can check the current state using a state T resource. Okay, so we'll do something like that. To change to another state, you can use the next state. Okay. So I think that probably what we would do, let's start with our, start a new game before we add any UI to this, to the menu. Okay, so this queues up transitions. Excuse me. Okay. Schedule called state transition runs. There, Bevy will check if any new state is queued up in the next state and perform the transition. So a state transition event is sent. The on exit schedule is run. The on transition schedule is run. And on enter schedule is run. Okay, that seems runs after pre-update. Okay, but before fix main. Game state transitions happen before your game logic for the current frame, which is what we would expect. Okay. App configure sets is per schedule. So all of our sets, right, system sets right now are all in the update schedule, so we don't need to be concerned with that. Right. So when it's running on enter and on exit, the update and fixed update will not work. Those will not be affected. Okay. I think we have enough information from there to go in here. So I think we're going to do, we're going to crib from our player. So this is a player movement. We need this in our menu, our handle menu input system. So we're going to say next state is res mute next state app state mute. Okay, and then we're going to do our input. And let me split this right, and we'll put the player one up here on the left. Oops, player. So we can see what this was. Okay, so if we say for key and input dot get pressed, maybe we want get released, just released. We'll use the return key. So if key is key code return, then we want to do next state set in game. So this is the most simple, like go from the menu into the game. This is probably the most simple system that we could do. So I think that was pretty straightforward. And again, this will only run if we're in the menu. So I think let's test this out before we actually draw any menu. We're just going to get a blank, like dark purple screen. And then if we hit enter, the rest of the systems should come up. And then later we can do, detect the player dying. So like running out of health and going back to the menu. So let's see if this works. I probably broke something, but we'll see. All right, so that I just hit enter. You couldn't see it. I'm not seeing any enemies spawned. So we have a problem there. We probably have an issue with some of these things not running. So I think we need to put some debug in here. Let's put a message in here. Couldn't find an enemy to spawn. We could also conceive of, I was thinking as we were making that menu transition, we could conceive of other states where it's like level 1 or level, you know, failed or something like that, um, where you would be presented with a screen that shows you, um, you know, your stats or something like that. And that would be a different game state than being in the particular menu. So let's see if it's not spawning because it can't find any to spawn. Yeah. Okay. So I just closed the wrong thing. Z. Okay. So um, sorry you missed it. Let's run it again real quick. Hit enter. We're going into the game state. It's not finding any to spawn. So I think this is the problem, and it may have to do with this. Let's see. Because this should be when we wait, so the spawns comes from the active spawn list. Let's go to that. Okay, so there's not active spawns. Where are we populating that? Okay, so we populate it when the level is spawned. I think we need to make sure that, so there's a problem of the level might be spawned, but we're not interested in, let's see if it did that at the beginning. It did not. So we should have been seeing this setting active spawn list for level, and we don't see it. So when is this system running? Right. So, okay. I think I need to remove this because what was happening is the level spawn event happened when we loaded at the beginning, right? Because we had the level selection in there. Now, I don't know if there's any way we can not have a level selection and select it as we enter. Yeah, let's look at levels. Yeah, level selection. Okay, that isn't telling us what we need. Let's look at the definition for this. So we were using here. We're just got too many windows open there. We're using level indices. Level selection index is a method, okay, or a constructor. Um, this does implement default. I'm curious how it implements default. Yeah, so it just does level selection index 0. Um, okay, I think I'm going to remove this restriction because I think that we're missing that event. And I'm concerned that what's happening is we're never getting that data. Let's see if that fixes it, because okay, so it loaded that stuff. Yep. Now it's not important that that happen at the menu, um, but if we want it to not happen until we enter the level, until we actually activate the level, we're gonna have to do something different about loading the world bundle. Um, so we hit enter. Now we're getting them spawned. So I think that fixed the problem. It just seems strange that, we shouldn't have the we shouldn't have to handle this until we're actually loading the level. But as long as we're spawning this on startup, we're spawning that bundle on startup and not when we're entering the in-game. Um, yeah. Okay. That's fine, I guess. The other thing that will happen is if we switch levels, um, this will get run again. It's also possible that the walls and the spawn spots were not populated correctly because they weren't running always. They were running in the only in that set, and they would miss these events. This thing was added, so okay. Compromise. All right, but we have validated that our hitting the return key sends us into the in-game state. Um, let's draw some menu stuff, and then we will um, and then we'll go and do the like transition out of the in-game state back to the menu. Okay. So for setup menu, we're definitely going to need a commands object. And let's go look at example here in the Bevy cheat book. We were looking at this a moment ago. There it is. Right. So they're building some of these node bundles. So let's just copy some of this stuff. Um, and I think we want to make a component here. Component debug default clone copy etc. And it's a marker, and we'll use this. Is that okay? So that's not a conflict. We'll use that to mark the root tree of our menu. So let's go and do something similar to this. I don't see why it can't be centered. I think we loaded a font um, over here, so we'll probably want to get this. Let's get font assets, right? And we don't need them to be mute, so we'll just say font assets, res fonts. Okay. And let's copy this. Commands dot spawn, and I'm going to say menu, and this is what we'll use to find it later when we want to despawn the entire thing. Okay, so let's start with that. Node bundle. So where is that coming from? It should be in the Bevy prelude. We're importing it. Let's make sure we're on the right. There's node bundle. Okay, is style in scope here? Yes. So we have Bevy prelude everything. Is this val? I don't see a val. Okay, let's look back at their example. Bevy prelude star. Okay. I don't know where this val is coming from. I'm guessing it's in the... Let's see what this says. Okay. We need to import that. Yep. Node bundle. It's not in the Bevy prelude. Wild. So this just re-exports. All the other stuff. Let's go to the UI prelude. Oh, that's why. I'm betting we have it disabled. Yep, so let's turn on Bevy UI. That was the problem. And so the prelude was slimmed down because we didn't have UI turned on. Okay, let's look back at it now. Yeah, no problem. So style refers to Bevy UI, UI node style. Okay. Okay, so then if we're here, we don't want to make a button bundle. I think we want to make some text bundles. Okay, we'll say with children. And parent, just to follow their pattern. So we'll spawn... I think we want a big text. And we might want to look at how we were doing it in the other, like in the health thingy where it takes damage. Okay, so we just absolute positioned that. Okay, and we did a text 2D bundle, which is not the same as a text bundle. The text bundle comes from UI. Text 2D is not UI. Okay. So let's look at the docs for that real quick. Text bundle. UI node that is text. What's not clear to me is if this has any like flow logic. Like if you put two text bundles as children of the um, the parent node bundle, if it's going to lay them out in any particular way, or if we have to do that ourselves. I'm okay doing it ourselves. It's not clear to me. So let's find that node bundle. Useful as a container of child nodes. It doesn't really say anything here about. Okay, so the style. This component is auto managed by the UI layout system. Okay, so we use the style component. And it's basically Flexbox. Okay, that's not that surprising. Um, so we can use yeah, so let's do flex direction column. Flex direction column. Yep. And then okay, so I think that's gonna handle that. And then if we go in here and we say parent, let's just do they did from section, and then we're gonna say we're gonna put our title in here. Survivors. Can I spell? No. And the style is going to be a style object or style struct. Okay. Oh, and we don't need all of that. Oh my goodness. Okay. What a big thing that we want to do here is set our font. So let's go look at the text bundle again. Okay, we could chain it. So from section, oh, this is text style, not style. Okay, yeah. I'm surprised it didn't complain about that. Okay, so font is going to be font assets.arcade.clone. It's going to be a handle. Font size, let's make it big. Let's start with 40. And then color is going to be white. Yeah, let's start with white. Okay, let's look at the example one more time. Okay, so we spawn that one, and let's spawn one. Let's make another text bundle. We'll basically copy this. That'll be easier. I think we still want it to be white. But let's make it smaller. Let's make it like 25 and say press enter to play. And make it all like arcadey. And there. This is not going to be right at first, but let's give it a shot and see how it looks. Okay, so now it's got to compile all sorts of stuff that it didn't before because I changed the features. That looks pretty cool. The kerning on this really sucks. I would also like to do potentially change this text to a different color, make it blink, something like that. That would be cool. Okay, and we hit enter. Okay, so we are not despawning that, obviously. So let's go ahead and do that. That system. And then we're going to do query entity with menu. Because we want to remove that text. We'll probably want to tweak the parent style. I don't know if there's a like column space or flex spacing thing. We could increase that. And then we'll probably put a marker on this one so that we can make it blink on a timer. That'll be good. You know, I like the look of that font though. It's fun. Let's bump that down to 20. Okay, so to clean up, we need to do if let okay menu is query.get single. So this is gonna if we have the menu, which we will, but I just want to be a little bit paranoid there. We'll say commands.entity menu is the entity, and we'll say despawn recursive. We did this in a in the health thing. So like something dies, it runs out of health, then you despawn it. But let's see if that works for now, and then we'll go and we'll try to tweak the UI for the main menu. I'm pleased that we've gotten this far already, actually, and we're only like a little bit more of an hour in. Okay, so it does go away, and we get our game. Cool. Okay. So we're gonna make a we're gonna say just call it blink text. We'll make a new system here, and we need to actually let's not do that. Let's make a component. That'll be easier to manage because then we can attach it to the menu. Or better yet, we can attach it to the thing that actually needs to blink. Clone, and we need to make a default on that. So this will be blink, and then it's going to have a timer in it. Okay. And then we're going to do impl default for blink. And we want to do self and timer. From seconds, we probably want it to be I don't know, let's say a quarter second. And repeating. And so let's put on this, we're going to wrap this in a tuple. And then we can put in here blink default. Okay. Let's pick a different color for this while we're at it. I want a yellow color. Okay, so now we just have to make the blink text system. Let's put it down here at the bottom. And this is going to be we're going to have mute. So we need the visibility, and we need the blink. And that's pretty much it. I don't think we need anything else special. So we're going to go for visibility blink in query.itermute. And this, I've been doing too much Python this week, so we'll say these are both mutable, right? So we'll say if blink dot tick, and we're going to need the time res time. Time dot delta. Just finished. I think that's, it doesn't know what blink is yet. Okay, that's the problem here. Okay, what's wrong? It is a component, right? Component debug clone, and we implement default for it. It's not complaining about inserting it. What's wrong here? Oh, the problem is it's not a filter. I meant to put this in a tuple. That's the problem. Okay, so now we've got visibility. What's wrong here? Unused. Okay, so if it just finished, then we're going to say match visibility, and we're going to fill that. So if it's inherited, then we're going to assume it's visible and go star visibility. And we're going to say hidden. So if it's visible or inherited, this is not probably the best way to do this, but if it's hidden, then we're going to, because we didn't track, did it come from inherited or visible? We'll just make it visible. Okay. So to review what we're doing here. So for everything that has visibility and the blink component on it, because basically anything that is spatial, anything that is displayed on screen has the visibility. We are going to loop over all those things. We only have one right now, but and then we're going to tick the timer in the blinker. If it just finished, then we will toggle the visibility. So that's why I picked a quarter of a second rather than half a second. Let's see how this works. See if I didn't blow anything up. Okay, that's a bit aggressive, right? I like it, but it's a bit aggressive. So let's change this to, let's go ahead and change it to half second. Now, the other possibility is that we could have two timers in there, one which ticks when it's visible and one which ticks when it's invisible. So it might be visible for longer and then a short time invisible and then coming back. But let's try it half a second for now. And we'll just... That's pretty good. I like the feel of that. Okay. Now there are questions about can we control the kerning? Because if you look here, they're pretty tight, which I guess is okay, but there's a little problem there. And maybe it's a scaling issue. Maybe the size of the text is the problem. So we bump this up to 40. I did it again. My apologies, folks. And it killed that. Okay, good. So if we bump it up to 40, it's quite a bit bigger, but yeah, the T, and part of it is that T is too close to the N. Okay, let's disable the blink for now, and we'll put it back. We'll put it back in a minute because I want to fix the way that the text looks. First of all, it doesn't need to be that big. We can go back down to 25 or so. Okay, I think we're done with this example, but let's look at what other things we can do. With text. Text internal alignment. Okay, so that doesn't affect position within the container. I think the way it's handling text is creating a font atlas underneath. Interesting. So let's look at style here, if there's anything in this that we can use to tweak. First of all, I want to get a... Okay, so there's a column gap. Let's get the... Wait, is there a column gap and row gap? Yeah. And we chose the flex direction to be column, so we want to set the row gap. Let's start with that. And let's set pixel to be 40. And let's see if that spreads things out a bit. Yeah. We might yet make this text bigger. I don't know. It's interesting. It's the T. So you can see it here. The N and the T are really close together. And then the right side of the T has a gap. And you can see it here as well. I wonder if it's specific to our, it's probably specific to our font. The other thing I can do is I want to put more spaces in here. I don't think that that's going to make it any clearer, but no, it's collapsing spaces. Again, the T is not as close to the O as it should be, and it's too far from the E, and it's right up against that N. Let's look at that in our font book. I'm pretty sure I imported it there. Arcade. No. Okay. Let's just look in here. This will open in font book. Okay. So here's the root of the problem. You look at this rendering by macOS, look at that space after the T. What's the validation report? What's going to name table structure? Okay. We could look for a different typeface because like, let's also look at, well, the N looks fine. The E is probably okay, but the T is just broken. Look at that. I would expect this sort of font to have fixed width characters, and it's clearly that the T is not the same width as everything else. And it's interesting too because the I looks fine. You see its serif there has only 1 pixel basically. But for some reason the T is not like that. It's like off by 1 or 2. And I wonder why that is. Also, perceptually, it looks like the Y. Maybe it's that the T needs to be, it's not centered in its box, and the Y is. But you can see here that that's still wider spacing than it is on between W and X. So I think there's probably just multiple things wrong with this font. So let's go look for a different one. Fonts. Here we go. I think I was looking here. This is where I found it. Bitmap pixel fonts. Okay. And let's make sure that it is public domain. VT323. Not exactly. Let's look at this one. See if that's very similar to what we have here. In fact, it's almost identical. Look at that. It does have lowercase. I wonder if it has that kerning issue that the other one does. But let's give it a try. And we're going to move this over into our code. Survivors game fonts. Okay. Let's give that a shot. And now we'll have a different font in there. So we're going to have to add it to our asset loader. We can still use that arcade font for our damage indicators. I think that would be okay. Let's say press start is a handle to a font. Okay. And then down here, We'll say press start, asset server dot load, fonts. Copy path is fine. What did I do? Okay. And we'll just clip out the part that's not. Here, let's copy relative path. And we'll remove the assets part. Okay. And then let's go up in our menu and switch that around. And I'm hoping that that will fix this particular problem. It's going to look different. Not incredibly, but it's going to look different. Okay, so that is much better. It looks very different, but you can see that the kerning is quite a bit better. It's still not perfect, but it's quite a bit better on there. So let's remove the additional spaces. What I would guess is that we saw that validation issue on the font. It's possible that it was incorrectly authored, and it should have a limitation on, like, maybe it was coded as variable width and it's actually fixed width. So, yuck. Okay. Cool. Let us put the blink back on. And I think now that we're on a different typeface, we can go even smaller on this. Let's go like 18. Pretty awesome. Okay. Okay, so that's a pretty good spot to make a commit. So what we did was, wow, we added a lot. All right. Let's just add everything. There's nothing in here I don't want to commit. Okay, so this is session 17. And we're going to add a game, an app state, an application state, basic menu screen, and transition into the gameplay. Okay. Now we need to think about transitioning out of the gameplay. And maybe what we could do is make a game over. We don't have a loading screen yet. Maybe we'll have a game over. That might be good to build. And we can do some stuff similar to what we did in the menu, right? We could even put it in here. That wouldn't be horrible. Okay, so let's make a game over. Okay, and now it's going to complain about that not being instantiated. Okay, so now we'll do something similar to what we did here. Um, so we're going to say on enter, app state, game over. Come on, game over. Set up end screen. And we'll do something similar to that for the cleanup. On exit, cleanup end screen. And these will be really similar. So we'll do, we'll make a new end screen, or maybe we just call it game over. And let's copy this for the most part. And we can reuse this, but what we'll do is we'll say, we'll pull in here the current state as well as the next state. And we will match on the current state and use this system for both of them. Okay, so this is not going to be set up menu. This is going to be set up end screen. What's interesting is I think with levels, when we're exiting the in-game state, we're already hiding it. One thing that might be nice to do is rather than hiding it, let it keep going and have it dimmed. But we don't have to handle that right now. What did I put in the do restart? Okay, so we can do that at a different time. Yeah, let's just have it hidden. And so for setting up the end screen, we'll just say game over. And let's do that in maroon. And we yeah, and let's leave that yellow. I don't know that I really like that, but I want to make the game over bigger. And let's make the row gap even bigger. Okay, so we will need a way to transition into this. I didn't name that function. No, I did. I think it's just complaining about me missing the cleanup end screen. Okay, so here, instead of menu, we want to say game over as the component. And it's really, really similar to this. We'll copy that. And screen. And this is going to be with game over. Okay. So now we will have the end screen. It's not spawned by anything yet. We're going to have to trigger that. But that's not a huge deal. I think what we need to do now is get the current state. Okay, and then we're going to do match state. If we're in the menu, then we're going to say next state is in game. If we're in game, we're going to do nothing. If we're in game over, we're going to say this shouldn't run when it's in the in-game state. We're going to say this is a menu. Oh, it's you have to do state.get. Sorry. I was wondering why it wouldn't just deref. I'm not positive about why they do that, but you have to do state.get. Okay. So let's just remove that and do a empty one because we don't care. We only care about the menu and the game over in here. And I want to look at how we're running this in state. Could be any. Let's look at the schedule conditions in the Bevy docs. Schedule. Schedule. Yeah. Common conditions. In state. Okay. I think honestly okay, so we could say not. The problem with not is if we give it in state in game and then we add more states to our system, then it'll run in those when you don't necessarily want it to. There's not an or in here. Let's look at condition. Okay. So we can chain them. So we can say in state or else in state. Yeah. It's not the most clean, but then we can run these automatically when they're in either of these states. Okay, so I want to start this up and see if we don't blow up. Okay, so there's nothing to transition us into the game over state. In fact, I'm just going to let the ghosts run in my player a bunch and kill him because that's the condition we want to trigger for the game over state. That's interesting that that's running after we're dead. Okay, so looking at the player, or maybe the health, I think it was in health. So in despawn dead entities, don't want to overload this system because it's just looping through all of them. If there's 0, removing them. We could look at potentially there's there's the added condition for when something's added, but what if it's removed? Is there a removed? Added, changed. Removed components. That may be what we want. Yeah. So I think what we're gonna do is over here in player, we will do. Let's get the app state as well. And so the process combat, I think, is where health is computed. But we would want it to do, let's do it in entity updates, I think, because, yeah. We'll say check, let's say game over. In set, in-game entity updates. Because the schedule looks like process combat, which handles all that stuff. And then there's user input and entity updates included. So the apply deferred, which is what changes the which applies any commands that we emitted. So all the commands are being emitted in process combat. By the time we get to entity updates, we will have removed the player. So I think that that's the appropriate place to do that. There's a lot about weapons in here. We might make that a new file. Okay, so we'll say fun game over. And we want the next state. Right? Because that's what we're going to change. And then we want a query of we don't care what it is, but it had removed player. Let's just get the entity. So if the player was removed on this tick, on this time around, because of the health going to 0, then we're going to, and we don't care. I'm going to say if not query dot empty is empty. Sorry, like I said, I've been doing Python this week, so my brain is mixed up in what language I'm working in. Okay, so if the player is removed from the game, then we wanted to say next state set app state game over. That's pretty easy. Okay, so let's see what's wrong here. Cannot find removed. Oh, removed components. All right, let's see the examples here. Oh, okay. So it's not a query, it's just an object of its own. Okay, so here, but it implements iterator. Um, or it implements into iterator with iter. It says use read. But is empty is there. It's the same. So if the player was removed, let's rename this to removed. Then we go there. Okay, let's give this a shot. I think that this will work. Looking to make sure we're, yeah, so in entity updates, we'll run that. Okay, let's run. Let's die. Let's see if we go to the game over screen. Okay, pretty cool. Okay, so one thing that happened, obviously, is the we can do this, but these things lingered on the screen. They froze, but they lingered on the screen. And now if we hit enter, they're still there, but the player isn't respawned. So we have some work to do on that transition. And I think that we need to do so the I think there might be something in ECS LDTK, which is you can respawn a level. Let's look at level. Right, okay. Level selection. So what was interesting there is we were actually hiding the level correctly, because it was setting this visibility to hidden, but the ghosts and the projectiles were not part of that, right? So there's a question about what should happen, and I think we should say we should have a system here which is this is on exit, So when we leave the in-game state, um, we want to reset world, right? And that should be but we'll probably also, I don't know, this feels like it's in the wrong place in the player plugin. Um, but the things that we want to, maybe we'll say reset player. Um, and we'll want to make sure that because the player is being spawned from an LGTK entity, which is like maybe what we should do rather than removing the player when it dies. So I'm probably in the health system. We should have some state on the player that's like dead or something like that. And then when we enter in game, rather than because we need to keep the sprite sheet around. Like I'm thinking about all these things that are just kind of difficult with our current setup. Um, so yeah, let's look here. So player can take damage, despawn dead entities, and I think that we want this to be we want it to not remove the player. Either we want it to not remove the player so that we can reset it, or we figure out how to spawn the player on level startup. I don't know that that's going. Maybe we do something similar like the enemy prototype. We do the player prototype, and then we just copy the components into the place where the player is going to be spawned. Maybe that's what we'll do. I think that's too big of a refactor to tackle right now, though. So let's comment this out for now. Let's look at what we changed. I think it's time to wrap. So I think we did pretty well at making menu screens and setting up the transitions between those states in the app that we can build upon for the future. So this has been a good session. So this is session 17 still. Transition to the game over state when the player dies. And just for before I commit that, let's add this to the to-do because I think that we need to know that this is really like a harder problem that we need to solve. We need to convert player spawn into prototype pattern like we did for enemies, so that we can respawn the player when we enter the in-game state. And then we're set for that, and it's like that prototype exists for the lifetime of the application basically, and we can copy it whenever copy the prototype of the player whenever we go to insert the player, and then we don't lose those sprite assets, we create our own spatial bundle at the time of spawn. We can do that on entering the in-game state. Um, yeah, and I think that and then we can think about we'll probably need to rearrange these files a little bit, um, because it feels like those state transitions need to be handled in a different way. Um, but we could, in the player, for instance, we could do it like this. We could also do, and that would handle the weapons as well, despawning them. Um, and we could do the same in the enemies that, wherever the plugin is in here. Like when we exit the in-game state, we'll find all of the things that have the enemy tag on and despawn them. I think that's a pretty straightforward thing to do. All right, I think that's a good place to wrap. So let's look at the diff again. Yeah, okay, so we're running this in the game over and the menu state. We've got the entering the game over and exiting it. We got the setup end screen. I don't like that maroon. It's too dark, but we'll fix that next time. And yeah. And then we'll look into, so here we're transitioning to the game over state, and on next time we'll look into resetting the player and removing the enemies when we enter the game over state. Although it kind of unintentionally had that effect that I wanted, where it just dims, but it's like, oh, all of them freeze. And they don't dim, we just laid the text on top, so that was a little bit to do. Okay. All right, I think that's a good place to call it. Thanks for sticking around if you did. And we will hopefully see you next week. I do need to inform you I will be on a long vacation starting May 15th. So there are 3 weekends, I think, that I will not be streaming at all. So if you're looking forward to this in May, my schedule is going to be greatly reduced. That said, hope you all have a wonderful time during that time. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Take care.